message with this understanding. Worship and doubt go together. Let me repeat that because it doesn't make much sense. Worship and doubt go together. Now let me ask you something. When you think about the Great Commission, where he told us to go into all the world, when you picture that mountain in Galilee, what's the picture you get in your mind? Of the 11 disciples who had gathered there after 3 years of listening and studying under him, with their heads raised, their shoulders back, ready to do war, ready to go and do everything absolutely certain. Oh, that would make a great painting, wouldn't it? But it would also be completely wrong. In fact, in the text read, Matthew 28:17 says, well, one of the most disarming sentences in all of Scripture. On that mountain, when they saw him, they worshipped him, but some of them what? Doubted. Now, you see, the disciples were divided, not over doctrine, not divided over style. They were divided within themselves. There was worship and there was doubt on that same mountain at the same moment. Now, if you put the two words together, what you get is this idea of wavering. I'm just not quite sure which way to fall. Now, these aren't skeptics who are questioning Jesus. These are the people who've walked with him the last 3 years. They watched him die. They're standing in front of his risen form, and something inside of them struggles because he wants them to take up the work. Matthew doesn't clean this up, and I'm grateful for that. He doesn't explain it away. He doesn't tell us that the doubters eventually came around. He simply leaves it raw and real because that's what honesty looks like. And then, without anyone trying to resolve that uncertainty, to come to some decisions, Jesus goes ahead and speaks to them all. So remember this. Doubt will never disqualify you. Let me repeat that. Doubt will never disqualify you. Only disobedience can do that. Now, some like to think that doubt is the enemy of faith. I want to suggest to you this morning it's not. I like what one man once said, that doubt is faith taking its own questions seriously. Because I have faith in my God, I want to have some answers. I want to seek what God wants to give. I don't know how we've done it, but we've communicated, without meaning to, the idea that if you have any doubt in your faith, that there's things you doubt, that somehow you're a spiritual failure. I'll be honest with you. You studied the entire New Testament. It never says that. In fact, we talked about it last week. Remember when Thomas doubted? His doubt became the source of one of the greatest testimonies to God when he cried out, "My Lord and my God." Now, look at Paul. Look at Peter. They denied. They failed. But God transformed them and made them leaders of the disciples. So here's my concern. We might look at this passage and think that Jesus, he's just tolerating these guys, putting up with them till some stronger believers come along. Now that would make sense to us. These boys don't have a great track record. But he doesn't. Because you see, the risen Christ is not tolerating his disciples, his doubters. He's commissioning them. There's a world of difference between just tolerating somebody and giving somebody something that you trust. Every person on that mountain, worshiper and doubter alike, received the same command, the same promise: go. Now, doctors have this condition that they speak about. It's called, and I want to quote it correctly, decisional paralysis. You're going to find this amazing. They studied it, and what they found out is that the more I demand certainty, the more I have to be sure that I'm going to get the answers I want, the more I'm going to work out every little detail, the more likely I will fail. Let me repeat that. The more I struggle to try to figure every little detail out, the more likely I'll not carry through with what needs to be done. Even Brene Brown, who's famous for her study on courage, put it this way. Courage is never the absence of doubt. It's taking action in the presence of doubt because someone matters more. No, that's not a new insight. That's what the mountain in Galilee has been telling us for 20 centuries. Disciples doubted, yes, but they went away commissioned. And the world has never been the same. So, that being said, let's talk about the foundation of this commission that was given to all of us to go into the world making disciples. Let's talk about that for just a second. Before Jesus commanded anything, he established the groundwork on which this command would stand. I believe in you. He doesn't say, go because the world needs it. All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to who? Yeah, to Christ. Out of that, I tell you, go. When Jesus said, all authority has been given to me, the voice tells us who did the giving. The Father did the giving. You see, the resurrection is not just proof that Jesus survived death. It's his Father's public declaration that my Son's sacrifice was all that was needed. In fact, I like what one man said, the empty tomb is the Father's verdict on the cross. And his verdict on his Son is this: Son, you're vindicated. Jesus, you're enthroned. I'm giving it all to you. All authority, all power, I give to you. In the ancient times of Daniel had a vision of that. He said, when the Son of Man approached the Ancient of Days said, I give you dominion, honor, and the kingdom. So I want you to remember this. The commission rests not on our certainty. We don't have to know exactly what to do or where to go or how to get it done. You know what it rests on? His authority, his power, and his dominion. That makes me feel a whole lot better. You see, we're tempted to think that the Great Commission to go into all the world is about us, about our gifting, our preparation, our strategies, our programs. No, the truth is, they matter. But when we make our readiness the foundation of the mission, we shift the weight from his shoulders to our shoulders. And I got news for you. We ain't built for it. We don't have what it takes to get the job done. The church does not go into the world hoping for favorable circumstances or cultural allowance. It goes under the mandate of the one who holds authority over every power, every principality, and every human institution. And he's the one that says, go into it. Now, that doesn't mean we're naive about opposition. The world's not going to love us. It means we're clear about who wins, who has the final power. This resistance we feel, this spiritual warfare, this political opposition, not a one of those is going to stop what he's going to accomplish. Not because we're strong enough, but because he is. Now, considering all that, let's talk about the mission. Because this is what we've been commissioned to do. When we get to commission, and here's where the grammar is important, we actually discover what it's about. There is only one imperative verb. Now, there's several verbs in that statement. There's only one imperative. That means all the other verbs draw from it. It's the one that sets everything in motion. It isn't go. That's not the verb, imperative. It wasn't baptize. We still do that, but it's not the imperative verb. It's not even teach. There's one single imperative. Make disciples. The going, the baptizing, the teaching, it's a part of the whole. They describe the process of disciple making. You see, this is not an invitation to receive disciples who happen to wander by. It is a command to produce them. You know, that's what we're supposed to do here. My job from this pulpit, or our leadership as well, we're to make you grow. We're to make you into the disciples that God needs. So you see, our concern is not about information. Our concern is about formation. A disciple is not simply somebody who believes about Jesus. A disciple is somebody who's been touched by Jesus, shaped by Jesus, moved by Jesus. We're not building an audience here. We're forming a people. We're not counting attendance. We're counting souls. Remember what God promised Abraham way back in Genesis? He told him, this old man, that one day all the families of the earth will be blessed by you. Abraham had to shake his head. How will all the families of the earth be blessed by me? But God said it. Every ethnic group, every culture, every corner of the earth, not because Christians have better ideas, but because our risen King has the power to send us into every place. Now here's a version of the mission that almost looks right, but it's not. A church that counts decisions and measures success by attendance, that celebrates the moment of response and then leaves the believers on their own fails. Let me repeat. We can have numbers. We can have size. We can have decisions. But if our help to you stops on the day that you receive him and you, the commission that we have received doesn't call for a one-time transaction. It's a community-building, ongoing process of formation. We are supposed to present you at your death to the Lord better than you were when you came through those doors. I'm ashamed to say, but in this world, in this consumer-oriented, light commitment version of the Christian faith that passes for membership in many of the modern churches is not what Christ commissioned. So here's a question worth sitting with. If you measured your own discipleship journey by this standard, not how much you know, but how much are you actually living out what you know? Does your life look more like formation or just information? And that leads to the question, how do I close that gap? How do I begin to become more shaped by Christ, by God, than I am now? So let's get to the promise that gets us there. The commission ends with a challenge, but with a promise. After he told us to go, Matthew says we should pay close attention because he uses the word. Well, it's like a hand on the shoulder. When you want to get somebody's attention, you put your hand on the shoulder and you turn them. That's what that word is. It's Jesus putting his hand on your shoulder and saying, by the way, I'll be with you always, even to the end. That's the last thing you want to make sure you understood. If you know Matthew's gospel, you know that it began with a name. Remember what Matthew first called Jesus in the beginning? Emmanuel, God with us. The gospel that opened with God drawing his people near now closes with the risen Christ, making that nearness permanent and personal. You see, the story of Jesus is a story about God coming close to us and never pulling back. The presence he brought in the incarnation now extends through the resurrection until history reaches what God has decided it must become. And then he says it for us all. Always. Not simply for a long time, always. All the days. The days of fruitfulness and your days of failure. The days of clarity and your days of confusion. The days of joy and your days of grief. Days when the mission feels alive and days when you're not quite sure what you're doing. Christ says, I'll be with you every single day. And the answer to every fear that you're going to face is the same. Listen to it closely. Here's his answer. I am with you. That's all you need to know. No matter what you're going through, no matter what you're facing, no matter how difficult it is, just know this. I am with you. See, you're not doing this for him. You are doing this with him. And that makes all the difference in the world. We might hear the promise of Christ's presence and treat it as some emotional comfort, something that makes the hard work feel better, but that is not enough. It's far more than that. It's provision. His presence in your mission is not a sympathetic observer. It's the presence of a sovereign king who goes with you into every room, every conversation, every moment of hesitation, and every act of obedience. Every single one. The believer who goes into that mission trembling with uncertainty is always accompanied by a risen Lord. His presence is not calibrated to our confidence level. We don't have to feel we've got it all figured out. His presence is constant. It's unconditional. It's the fuel that makes this whole mission run. Let me close with these words. The disciples who gathered on that mountain became the power that changed the world. They turned the ancient world upside down. They planted churches across the Roman Empire. Their doubt did not become their legacy. Their obedience was their legacy. In Romans chapter 10, Paul asked this question. How shall they hear without a preacher? And how shall they preach unless they are sent? That question is not addressed to the confident. It's addressed to the church. Because there are people in every neighborhood, every workplace, every family in the world who will not hear of Jesus unless someone who loves them opens their mouth. He needs to hear you say, have I told you about Jesus? If you've named the name of Christ, if you've been baptized into his death or resurrection, then the Great Commission is not a suggestion, it's your standing order. It has never been rescinded. Now, you don't have to be certain. You just have to be willing. The authority is his. The presence is his. The outcome is his. You don't have to figure it out. He'll be there. One conversation at a time. Just speak his name. Maybe you've been coming for a while, listening and watching, and something in you right now resonates. Let me say something to you. The resurrection of Jesus Christ is not a religious concept. It's a fact that has your name on it. It means your sin is forgiven. It means your death will not be the final word. It means that the God of the universe is not distant, but near. Not silent, but speaking. Not condemning, but inviting you by name. If something has drawn you toward him today, that's not coincidence. That's his voice. He's saying, even now, come. I am with you. You don't have to figure it all out. Just come to me. Here's what I want to leave you with that you didn't have when you came in. You're not a spectator of the resurrection. You're a soldier in its army. He has not sent you out alone. He's gone with you into every conversation, every relationship, every corner of your life where his presence can make the ordinary special. The doubting disciples went. The world was never the same. So I, on his behalf, say to you, go. It's your time. Change the world, one person at a time. Risen Christ, you have spoken. Now make us doers of what we have heard. Take our doubt and sanctify it. Take our willingness and multiply it. Send us from this place as people who know that we are commissioned by you, accompanied by you, and loved by you. May we live this week as witnesses to the resurrection in our homes, in our workplaces, in our neighborhoods, to the end of the age, Lord, to the end of the age.